Welcome to the Help for Leaders podcast. I'm Stacey Harris, and I'm passionate about showing leaders the power of communication and how it can transform their organizations, from Fortune 500 boardrooms all the way to brand new startups. As a leader, your actions and your words transform people and your company culture. So join me as I share tips and insights for elevating your leadership abilities as well as your team's performance. Let's dive right in. Well, welcome back. I'm Stacey Harris. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence and how emotions impact our leadership ability. Emotions are powerful. Panic is contagious, but so is leadership. And I really want to talk about how emotions impact our ability to lead others. And so there's really 5 aspects to emotional intelligence that I want to hit on. And I'm going to briefly just name them now, and then we'll go into each one. So self-awareness is the first aspect of EQ. You're going to also hear me talk about self-regulation. We're going to talk about motivation, social awareness, and social regulation. And so I want to just jump right in and talk about that power of emotion. So self-awareness is the first piece of emotional intelligence. And self-awareness is how emotions impact us. How aware are you as an individual about your own emotions, how they're impacting your ability to lead, and the emotions of other people. And so we really want to talk about those emotions, how powerful they are. And so when we're aware of our emotions, we're absolutely able to then regulate those emotions, how they're impacting us, how they're impacting others. And I want to give you a few practical tips on how to regulate or how to be aware of emotions so that you can regulate them. So the first piece is just to be aware of what's going on in your body. You know, sometimes when we have anger or even excitement, any type of emotion, there's typically a physiological response that's happening in your body. I mean, do you get that pit in the bottom of your stomach? Do your palms sweat? Does your throat tighten? What is going on physically in your body that's happening through emotions? You know, emotions are so powerful. They're chemicals that are released in our brain, and it's actually precognitive. Before we even have a thought, emotions are flooding our body. And if we can't understand them, if we're not aware of them, they absolutely can impact how we lead others. And so some of the things of being aware is to actually understand what's going on, identify, like actually name the emotion, not just I'm feeling fear or I'm excited, but actually try to get to the root of what is that emotion? What am I feeling? So just that self-awareness piece throughout the day, whether it's something you're in a heightened emotional state or maybe you're just really calm, being able to name those emotions and put thought to what's happening around you into that emotion. Another way to identify is that physiological piece that I was just talking about. So naming the emotion, understand physically what's going on. That's all about self-awareness. And then the last one is to observe others, how they're responding to you. Because again, I mentioned at the very beginning, emotions are contagious. People feed off of what we're experiencing. And as a leader, we have the ability to literally be the thermostat for our teams. Instead of the thermometer of us being the one, going up and down, we have the ability to set the mood and the tone when we are aware of those emotions. Number 2, self-regulation. Oh my goodness. Have you ever said something and been so embarrassed or regretted what you said out of anger or frustration, or maybe just something's not going right with your team and you just say something flippantly off the cuff? Regulation is going to help you when those emotions are heightened, when you are triggered in some kind of way. When we have self-regulation, we have that ability to not only understand, be self-aware, but we can actually regulate those emotions. And I'm not talking about just suppressing emotions, but I'm talking about actually understanding what's going on, pausing. That pause of actually just calming yourself down can be so powerful. Do you know it takes 6 seconds for our bodies, our central nervous system, to actually absorb emotions? So when we are triggered, when we feel, we've all felt those, that adrenaline that rushes through us. It literally takes 6 seconds for that chemical reaction to calm down. And so if we can learn to pause before we open our mouths, it can absolutely impact those that we're leading. So self-regulation is key. There's some real practical ways that we can engage in self-regulation. Going for a walk is one of the easiest ways. When we move our body, we literally change our mindset. And so if we can get outside, especially if the weather's amazing, get out in nature, it's a huge way that we can learn to regulate our emotions. Another way is listening to some uplifting music. Music is powerful. I can go right back to an 80s tune and it brings me back to every memory of high school. I'm literally dating myself right now, but I love 80s music. Any kind of music will absolutely help you regulate. I have a colleague who has grown children now, as I do, and he had a recording on his phone of his son saying, "I love you, Dad." And it was in that sweet little 2-year-old baby voice. And he said, I can be in any meeting, at work, any upsetting situation, I can step out, listen to that recording that's 6 seconds, and it absolutely would bring him back, calm down every emotion that he was feeling, and bring back what's most important. And so any kind of music, any kind of recording, anything that you can do like that is absolutely so key in helping regulate emotions so that we can lead from a place of calmness, of peace, so that others around us are experiencing that as well. So that's the second piece. Motivation is a huge part of emotional intelligence. So let's talk about motivation. Motivation is the personal drive to improve yourself that goes beyond the paycheck. It's beyond any kind of goal that we've actually set. It's why we get up in the morning. It's that passion to do what we do. And so how motivated are you? Are you a goal setter? Are you someone that has lists of things you want to achieve? I would encourage you that motivation is what pushes us to go beyond those goals. And so actually writing those things down with timelines can be huge for you as a leader. Maybe it's personal goals, maybe it's even family goals. Maybe it's something that you have set goals for your team. I know in our organizations, we all have goals. We all have things that we need to achieve. And when we have them actually written down with timelines, that can be huge for us as we develop our emotional intelligence as leaders to be able to drive those forward. So listing them down, posting them where you can see them. And this is one that I really love, celebrating those accomplishments. Celebrating when you hit a milestone, whether it's a huge one or even a small one. When we can learn to celebrate those milestones that we achieve, whether they're big or small, it can be huge in helping us push that motivation forward. The fourth part of EQ that I want to talk about. So we've been talking really about internal drivers, our own selves, how we are aware of our emotions, how we regulate, how we're motivated. But now I want to talk about the emotions of other people, the emotions of our team, the emotions in our organization, maybe even the emotions in your family, and how they impact us and how they impact those around us. So the first part of that others piece of EQ is social awareness. How aware are you of the emotions of other people? I know that we've all probably been in a room with other individuals and something is just, we can feel it. Something's not right. Other people's impact and how they're experiencing us is different than maybe our intent. And maybe someone else on our team is experiencing something and they're saying something that's off and we're all feeling it That's social awareness, being able to identify how the emotions of other people on our team are impacting the team. And so with that, number one tip is improving your listening skills. It's a huge piece of understanding social awareness. If we can learn to listen, if we can ask clarifying questions, if we can really dig in when we don't understand. And we've all probably even experienced someone that's saying something with their words, but their body language, their tone of voice, their emotions aren't matching. And when we see that mismatch, something in our brain is saying, something's not right. So as leaders, we need to be able to lead out and ask questions. Ask questions of your team members. What's going on? Help me understand. I want to figure out how we can work together best to move forward. And when we really can dig into that, paying close attention to those interactions of team members is also a tip to really help you improve your social awareness. And then trying to understand others by really assessing the emotional state before you communicate what you're feeling. And then the last piece of EQ that I want to talk about is social regulation and being able to regulate your emotions and how they impact the entire team. And so understanding what's going on first inside of you is going to be key, but also understanding your team members and really helping each person navigate those emotions is going to be really key. So being aware of the message that your body language is sending, making sure when you're excited, you want to experience that. If you walked into a room, you said, "Oh, great team, way to go. We hit our fourth quarter numbers." And all of this is not saying, "Way to go." It's a mismatch, and your message has to match the emotion behind it. Also, you need to be able to remember people's names. This seems really simple, but it's a huge part of social regulation. When we can actually call someone by name, even if it's a colleague we've just met, but hopefully you know your team members' names. But when we can, it really does kind of bring in that disconnect. So use memory techniques to, when you're first interacting with individuals, to remember their name. That can be a huge part, even in just social regulation of emotions. And then after a negative interaction on your team or in your family or with a friend or a colleague, go and make it right. Really pause, figure out what you did, maybe get some feedback from someone that you trust. How could I have done this better? And then try to make it right. That can really make a huge impact on your leadership ability and how you lead others. So as you're going about your day, I hope you can remember these 5 pieces of EQ. We've got self-awareness, that's understanding your own emotions, self-regulation, being able to really identify and regulate those emotions, motivation, setting goals, being excited about achieving the passions that you have. You've got social awareness, being aware of all the emotions in a team, and then regulating those emotions in a group setting. Thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode. Hope you'll join us next week. We're going to share more strategies and more help for leaders. Thank you for joining us today. You have the potential to communicate, engage, and lead with significant impact, and my goal is to help you do just that. Whether you're trying to get that next big promotion, scale your small business, or manage a team of thousands, there's always room for growth, and I can help you get there. Go to disc-report.com and find out what style of leader you are by downloading my free ebook on communication. Until next time, lead well and prosper.